Hey everyone. Today, we're going to be going over SAT practice test one. My name is David, and for today, we're going to be going over the no calculator section. So, let's get started, guys. Share screen. And feel free to follow along as I'm doing it. Okay. Right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the first question. Number one, if x minus 1 over 3 equals k and k equals 3, what is the value of x? Let's go ahead and just get my marker ready. All right. So if x minus 1 over 3 is equal to k, which we know is 3, so I'm just going to substitute k for 3. And then we just want to know the value of x, right? So what I'm going to do is multiply 3 on both sides. All right, that cancels out. And then you have x minus 1 equals 3 times 3, which is 9. X minus 1 equals 9. And then you just add 1 to both sides. When I isolate x, that's what our goal is. Cross that out. And you have your final answer, x equals 10. Now we're going to circle D. Right? Okay. Now, let's move on to the next question. And feel free to pause as we get to harder questions. Okay. Make sure I get my black marker. Okay. For I equals the square root of -1, what is the sum of 7 plus 3i plus the quantity minus 8 plus 9i? So in a question like this, we're just asked to find the sum and we just add these together. So when I look at this, I'm just going to add like terms. So I'm going to do this. Oh, that was the wrong one. Which 7 plus minus 8 will get me -1. Then I circle 3i and 9i. You can box it if you want. Doesn't matter. And you have 3i plus 9i, which is 12i. That's going to be plus 12i. Just look for the answer that matches that up. It looks like answer A. Looks good. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one. On Saturday afternoon, Armand sent M text messages each hour for 5 hours, and Tyrone sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon? Okay, so the question is asking us to find total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon. Okay, so we have Armand, which is M. So let's start off with M. And he sent some number of text messages, M number of text messages each hour for 5 hours. Okay. So he sent, let's say, 20 text messages, right? And if he did that for each hour, that means in 5 hours, he would send 100. So right here, the coefficient has to be 5 because he sent this many text messages in 5 hours. And we want to find the total number of text messages that they found. So it would be close to the same idea here for Tyrone, who sent P text messages for 4 hours. So this would be P. And in the 4 hours, he sent P number of text messages each hour. So he did that 4 times. So it have to be 4 right here. You want to find the total number of messages? Well, what you have to do with that, you just add these together. So when you come to this conclusion, your answer should be C. All right. Feel free to pause if that was confusing. And try to look back at the question again. All right. Okay, next question. Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week, she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of each day can be estimated with the equation P equals 108 minus 23D. So I see that's an equation. I'm just going to box that. Where P is the number of phones left, okay? It's a variable giving me information. And D is the number of days she has worked that week. And I just want to know the meaning of 108 in this equation. So I'm probably going to just use my answer choices to help me find the answer to this question. So what I'm going to do is look at A. Kathy will complete the repair within 108 days. That doesn't seem right, because if I set D to 108, say D is equal to 108, then I plug that into this equation, I'm just going to get some number that's negative, and I know P is the number of phones left. You can't have a negative number of phones, so this just, it doesn't make sense. So let's cross that out. Kathy starts each week with 108 phones to fix. That seems right, because when we start, we have 108 phones to fix, and then it seems like in one day we fix 23 phones, and another day you fix another 23, and so on. You just keep fixing a certain amount of phones. Kathy repairs a phone at the rate of 108 per hour. That doesn't seem right, and I'll tell you why. So what we're given here, this equation that I boxed, let me actually start it. This is a very common type of equation that you'll see on the SAT. This is called a linear equation, and two things you need to know about a linear equation is really just how to find the slope and the equation of a linear equation. Really, in this problem, I'm just interested in the setup for a linear equation, which is y equals mx plus b, which you should have learned in your Algebra 1 class, where I know that the rate is always going to look something like mx, right? Where m is the rate of change and x is your x variable. So I know that the 108, it's not looking like the mx. It's looking like the plus b, which is the y-intercept. So C and D are wrong for that same reason, because 108 is not rate of change. Not ROC. I'll just write that. All right, so that leaves our answer to be B. Feel free to also look at that problem if you weren't sure how I approached some things. All right, on to the next problem. Okay, number 5. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? So I'm see a problem like this, and what I'm gonna do, right, is I'm gonna just combine like terms. So first, what I need to notice is what kind of problem is this? So looks like I'm subtracting from this quantity onto this quantity. So I'm subtracting it. So that means, here's a little trick. When you're subtracting something, all you can do is just distribute this negative inside. So now this will be a plus, this will be a minus, this will be a plus. All right, cool. Now I just combine like terms. All right, so I need an x squared and a y to be combined together. So this one and this one. So plus x squared y plus x squared y. It's gonna be 2x squared y. All right, now what I can do now is look at if I can just circle one right now, which looks like I can cross out A and B, but I have C and D left over. So I'm gonna have to try to break this down just a little bit more. So looking at this, I noticed they both have a different xy squared. So I'm just gonna take a look at that, and then that will tell me what the answer is, and that's all I have to do. So xy squared, this looks like it. So 5xy squared minus 3xy squared. So 5 minus 3 is 2. So that's what I have to write down. 2, and then it's xy squared plus. And it's looking like it's going to be C, which I don't even have to finish looking at the y squared part. I mean, you can if you want to, but the SAT is a time test, so you want to try to go as fast as you can, and you don't have to check every single thing if you don't have to. But let's just do it, right? So you have a positive 3y squared and a minus 3y squared. So positive 3 plus minus 3 is a 0. So 0y squared, you don't have to write 0. So this would be your answer right here, which is what we circled. All right, cool. All right, number 6. A pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height h of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age a in years between the ages 2 and 5. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? Well, let's look at this type of problem again, right? Okay, so this is height equals 3a plus 28.6. When I look at this, I'm automatically thinking it's a linear equation. How do I know that? There's the y variable, there's your x variable, here's your slope, m, and then this is b. So what are we actually being asked right here? Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of the boy's height each year? Okay, so, all right. So let's say, okay, what is the estimated increase in the boy's height each year? So every year each passes, which let's say 2, 3, 4, 5. How much does it increase each year? So all you could do is make like a little table. Let me actually change this around. Let me make a A and H table. Right, and let's do from ages 2 to 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now keep in mind this is totally not necessary to make. So you can avoid this if you know how linear equations work. Right, so let's go ahead and plug in our values. So a is equal to 2, so that's 6 plus 28.6, that's 34.6. And 3 times 3 is 9. 28.6 plus 9 is 37.6. Sorry, this is 34. You plug in 4, that's 12 plus 28.6, which is 40.6. Then 5 times 3 is 15, which is 43.6. And as you can see, each time I'm increasing by 3. And that makes sense, right? Because each time increasing by 3, because that's my slope. In linear equation, the m is your rate of change. So it's asking what is the estimated increase, which is what is the rate of change of the boy's height each year? It's just 3 inches. The answer is A. All right. So really the table is here to help you visualize how this is working. But if you know how linear equations work, this equation is just really asking you, what is the slope? Let me write that down. What is the slope? So it doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you understand how it works. And as you're getting better at the test, you can find a lot of different shortcuts to help you solve problems. So right now, I'm just trying to show everyone, there's many different ways to approach problems. Okay. Okay, number 7. The formula above gives the monthly payment M needed to pay off the loan of P dollars at R% annual interest over N months. Which of the following gives P in terms of M, R, and N? Right. So this problem looks really hard, but it's one of these problems where you really just want to change some things around. So it's saying, which of the following gives P in terms of M, R, and N? So we have the equation M in terms of R and P and N. But now we want to put P on the other side of the equal sign. So we have to think of a way to do that. So let me write this out. Or actually, that's a lot to write out. So I'm just going to write on here. So what you can do here is what you want to get p by itself, and you're multiplying by this fraction right here. And if we know anything about fractions, they're just a number. So to cancel out a fraction in math, all you need to do is multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm just going to multiply by the reciprocal here. Of course, I'm not going to write it all out because that's a lot to write out on the real test. You wouldn't want to do that because that's going to waste you a lot of time. So I would multiply by this reciprocal. And in doing that, when you multiply reciprocal by itself, for example, 1/2 times 2, it's going to get you 1. Doesn't matter what number it is. I could do 1/80 times 80. They're both reciprocals of each other. It gets you 1. The reason I want to do that, anything times 1 is itself, and 1 times p is p. So that's how I'll get p by itself. So that really what I'm looking for is m should be multiplied by the reciprocal of this. So let's look for something like that. It's looking like b, I think. Yeah, b. And that's how you do this problem. So really, they're going to give you scary looking things to make you think you have to do more than you actually have to do. But it's really just asking, okay, just get p by itself. That's all you have to do. And if you know how fractions work, if you multiply by its reciprocal, it turns into 1. So that's just a key thing to know. All right, on to the next problem. And feel free to leave a comment down in the video below if you guys know how I can improve these videos. I'm just releasing them here so I could help anyone out. Okay, if a over b equals 2, what is the value of 4b over a? All right, so we're given a fraction again, and we know a over b equals 2. And if we know about fractions, they can be manipulated in any way. And I'll show you guys right now how you can do this. So a over b equals 2. And now you want to do the reciprocal, because I noticed that b is on the top right here and a is on the bottom right here. So you can do the reciprocal right here. And this is totally fine because fraction is just a proportion of numbers, and you can just switch the proportion of numbers around. So now this is going to be 1/2. And now what I can do is multiply both sides by 4 to get the 4b over a. So multiply by 4, multiply by 4. So now I have 4b over a equals 1/2 times 4. Looks like the answer is going to be 4 over 2, which is 2. The answer is C. It's easy as that, guys. All right, on to the next problem. What is the solution xy to the system of equations above? All right, at first glance, it looks easier maybe to plug in these numbers to see, okay, does this work for the system? Does it satisfy both equations? But that's really inefficient sometimes. But it does work. I won't lie. It will work every single time as long as you don't make any arithmetic error. But there are faster ways to do this, and I'm going to use the elimination method, which will save you a bunch of time instead of plugging all the answer choices in. So let's go ahead and start this. So how do we do the elimination method? Well, when you're solving for a system of equations and you want to find a coordinate that will work for both, it's really hard when you're working with an x and a y. You want to try to get rid of them. So what I'm going to do is try to make a third equation somehow in a really smart way. So let's see. I want to get rid of either x or y. And for this problem, I'm probably going to choose the y, sorry. Okay. So let's multiply this by -2. And now what I have here is minus 4y. I'm going to multiply everything in here because distributive property. Minus 4y plus 2x equals 38. Right, cool. Now this is our third equation right here. I can number them for you guys. 2, 3. And now what I can do is make a fourth equation, and I can use that to help me solve for what I need to look for. So what I'm going to do is add 1 and 3. And this is a very efficient way to go for when you're solving a system of equations, because now I'm getting rid of that y variable. Now I can find the x variable. So now I'm going to make a new fourth equation. So minus 4y plus 4y is 0y, so 0. And then 3x plus 2x is 5x. So 5x equals 38 minus 23, which is 15. And I just divide both sides by 5. So x equals 15 over 5, which is 3. Okay, let me write here. This was equation number 4 that we made. So if we know x equals 3, all we have to do is look for the one that has x as the 3 coordinate. And I don't really care what the y coordinate is, really. I can check for it if I want to, but like I said, it's a time test. You don't need to be doing all of that. But if you really want to be sure, plug it back into here. So let's plug it back into the second equation. 2y minus x equals negative 19. So 2y minus 3 equals negative 19 since x equals 3. Add 3 to both sides. 2y equals minus 16. And then divide by 2, y equals negative 8. Yep, that seems like it checks out. Cool. All right, let's go on to the next problem. All right, so it's another system of equations, nothing to worry about. The equations above, B and C represent the price per pound in dollars of beef and chicken, respectively, X weeks after July 1st during last summer. So X weeks after July 1st during last summer, it seems important. And feel free to always underline something if you think you're not gonna get all the information in the question. I just usually underline because I feel like I might have to reread it sometimes. And I don't want to reread any irrelevant information. So what was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken? Okay. And the equations above, B and C. Okay, B and C represent. And what was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken? Okay. Now, how I would do this one is the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken. I would probably set these two equal to each other, because if B equals C, I need to know what X was to find out the value of X, so I can know the price per pound of beef, because they'll both be the same thing anyways if they're equal to each other. It's just really saying when B is equal to C. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute now. This will be 2.35 plus 0.25x equals 1.75 plus 0.4x. All right, now we just need to solve. So what I'm going to do here is subtract 1.75, subtract 1.75, minus 0.25x. I'm just isolating everything. 0.25x. This cancels out. This cancels out. All right, and now you have okay, 0.6 equals 0.15x. Now, guys, keep in mind, I'm really just trying to think of a game plan before I even write anything down. It has to make sense before I start writing it down, or I'm just going to be writing nonsense on here if I don't know what I'm doing. So always come up with a game plan before you start doing it. Write it out if you have to. And it is okay if you write nonsense on the board. If you just get it right, that's all that matters. Hey, math is all just about thinking out loud. Okay, so you have, let me see if I did my arithmetic right. 0.6 equals 0.15x. Okay, cool. Now you have to solve for x, 0.15. I can divide by that. All right. And if you're not comfortable with dividing decimals, let's think about this, right? This is 6/10, this is 15/100. If I wanted to convert this, right? This is kind of the same thing as saying 60 divided by 15. It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact proportion. I just multiplied this by 100. 100 over 100. So I'm not doing anything different. And this proportion will be equal to that proportion. So 60 divided by 15. So x is equal to 60 divided by 15, which is 4. All right. And we're not done yet. We know x is equal to 4 when the price of per pound of beef is equal to the price per pound of chicken 4 weeks after July 1st. Okay, cool. Now we just need to know the price per pound of beef. Or I could plug it into the chicken since they're equal to each other. It really doesn't matter. But I'm just going to do it into the beef. So I plug in 4. And then that gives me 1. 0.25 times 4 is 1. And 2.35 plus 1 is 3.35. The answer is D. Cool. Feel free to pause during that video if I went too fast. And let's move on to the next question. A line in the xy plane passes through the origin and has a slope of 1/7. Which of the following points lies on that line? So we know it passes through the origin. If we know anything about the linear lines, it will only touch every point once. So it's a line, so that's important. So it's linear. Passes through the origin. So that means our y-intercept has to be 0. So y-intercept has to be 0. And a slope of 1/7. So our equation is, let's use y equals mx plus b. This is our m, this is our b. So now we have y equals 1/7 x plus 0. So y equals 1/7x. Now we just plug in these values. So 0 will not get you 7. 1 will not get you 7. 7 will not get you 7. So it has to be D. Let's check it. 14 will get you 14/7, which is 2. Yep, that would check out. And that's how you would do number 12. Oh, did I skip one? Oh, I did skip one. Okay, number 10. For the function g defined above, a is a constant and g of 4 equals 8. What is the value of g of -4? Okay, so a is a constant and g of 4 equals 8. So let's plug that in. So g of 4. And we know 8 equals, so we plugged in 4 for x. So we have a times 4 squared plus 24. Now we just need to solve. So 4 squared is now going to turn into 16. So 8 equals 16a plus 24. Now I just need to solve for it. So I'm going to subtract 24 on both sides. Oops. All right. And that will get me 16 minus 16 equals 16a. Divide by 16. Oops, running out of room. We'll go back up here. So a equals -1, which is -16/16. Okay, cool. So we know a equals -1. We just need to know the value of g of -4. So this is really negative x squared plus 24. We plug in -4. Okay, so that will be negative of -4 squared plus 24. So -4 squared is 16. Then you times negative, that would be -16. -16 plus 24 is 8. So you still get 8. Cool. All right, sounds good, guys. And for anyone watching, if you guys have any other methods for how to solve these, feel free to leave them in the comments, because I'm sure whoever is watching or has questions about how I'm doing it, they might not understand it the way I do it. But if anyone has it at an easier or more understandable way, that would be better. That's what learning is about. We all share our ideas with each other so we could learn easier. Okay, well, let's move on to the next one. 13. If x is greater than 3, which of the following is equivalent to 1 over x plus 2 plus 1 over x plus 3? All right, so this looks like a really scary fraction, and I'm noticing in my answers that I could end up with a fraction or I don't. My computer ran out of storage for a little bit, but we're back. I'm going to try to finish this, hopefully in one take again. I'm not going to try to rush through it, though. There's no rush. All right. Okay. Okay, number 13. So I think I said that all my answers are in a fraction form, or either in a smaller fraction or just regular, no fraction at all. No, just a regular equation or expression with variables in it. Ooh. Don't want to do any of that. Oh, it's a zoom marker, sorry. All right, cool. So what I'm first going to do is try to convert back down to one of these simpler fractions or just a simple expression down there. So rewrite this 1 over x plus 2 plus 1 over x plus 3. And my game plan is to really just combine stuff together to make this look easier and easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is combine these two fractions together. But how the heck do you combine two fractions that don't have the same denominator at all? Well, we know we can only combine them if they do have the same denominator. So an easy trick that you can always do to always combine two fractions together is you multiply one fraction by its denominator over its denominator. You can do this because you don't want to change the fraction. You're just changing the proportion of it. And now you do times x plus 3 over x plus 3. This way, when I do it this way, I'll have them both to have the same denominator. And now I can just combine this now. This is going to be x plus 3 plus x plus 2 over x plus 2 over x plus 3 times x plus 3. Now I'm just going to combine the numerator. So I already combined the fractions by adding them together. So now I just add the numerators together. So now this is 2x plus 5 up right here. Yep. 2x plus 5 over x plus 2 times x plus 3. Seems like I'm going to have to FOIL that. Look at my answer choices. So x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. And this is combined as x squared plus 5x plus 6. So let me go ahead and write down what we have so far. So we have 1 over, so we just did all that work combining. We haven't changed a single thing. So our new fraction underneath this fraction is going to be 2x plus 5 over x squared plus 5x plus 6. And if you know anything about fractions, a fraction over a fraction is just its reciprocal. So this is actually just going to be equal to x squared plus 5x plus 6 over 2x plus 5. And your final answer will be B. Cool. All right. Now let's move on to number 14. As you can see, the problems will start to get a little bit more complex now. So you want to make sure you're just kind of going through them slowly. You're having a game plan. You see, I just try to make this simple as possible. So I tried to combine it into one fraction, as you saw, like when I had a fraction over a fraction. That's definitely not something you want to have when you're looking at your answer choices here. So always just have a game plan when you're going in with these problems, and try to come up with something even if you have no idea what you're doing. Okay. So if 3x minus y equals 12, what is the value of 8 to the power of x over 2 to the power of y? So for this problem, you're going to need to brush up on your law of exponents. And whenever you're doing law of exponents, you're going to need to have the same base. So 8 and 2 are not the same, obviously. But I know 8 is a power of 2, so I can change this to 8 to the power of x over 2 to the power of y is just the same as saying 2 to the power of 3 to the power of x over 2 to the power of y. All right. And if I know my law of exponents, an exponent of exponent, you just multiply the exponents together. So this 2 to the power of 3x over 2 to the power of y, and division in law of exponents, just subtraction of the exponents. So that's 2 to the power of 3x minus y. And now I know 3x minus y equals 12, so I just substitute this for 12. This is 2 to the power of 12. And let's see what my answer choices are. I have A as my answer. Now, this problem is going to be really hard if you don't know your law of exponents. So I recommend looking at your law of exponents before trying to do this problem. All right, number 15. If ax plus 2 times bx plus 7 equals 15x squared plus cx plus 14, for all values of x, and a plus b equals a, what are two possible values for c? Okay, so I know a plus b equals a, right? And I know a, let's try to FOIL this out first. I know they're equal to each other, so I'm going to try to FOIL something out to get in the same format as this. All right, so that's your FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. So now you're ending up with abx squared plus 2bx plus 7ax plus 14. All right, looks fine. So I know a times b has to be 15 as well. So let's write like 1 and 2. I know this. A times b equals 15. All right. Now I need to figure out maybe what a and b are, but at the end of the day, I still need to know what c is. Okay, and I also know 2b plus 7a equals c, because if I add these together, this will give me 2b plus 7a x, right? And I have no idea what 2b plus 7a is, but I know that will be the value of c if I add these two together. I just factor out an x when I combine them, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's the third thing I know. Now that might not seem helpful, but it will soon. So I know a times b equals 15, but a plus b equals 8. So we can treat this as a system of equations, kind of. And we can actually say that a is equal to 8 minus b. All right. So if I know a is equal to 8 minus b, I just used equation 1 and subtracted a b on both sides. And now what I can do is plug in. So I know e equals 15, and then have a substitute for a, 8 minus b. I'm going to combine these two together to get 8b minus b squared equals 15. Rearrange some things around. I'm going to subtract 15 on both sides. So I'm just going to have minus b squared plus 8b minus 15. All right, cool. And now that's equal to 0. And now I want to tell you guys this beforehand. There's another way you could have done this, but I really want to make sure you guys understand how I'm getting some numbers before I even say it, okay? So I want to say, okay, b squared plus 8b minus 15 equals 0. I'm going to divide by -1 because I want to factor this and make it look easier. So b squared minus 8b plus 15 equals 0. And I think when I FOIL this, FOIL it however you want, or sorry, factor it, you're going to get b plus, minus 5 and b minus 3. So b can equal 5 or 3. All right, cool. And we know if b is equal to 5, then a is equal to 3. And if b is equal to 3, a is equal to 5 based on equation 2. So I know the values of a and b already, and that will satisfy equation 1 as well. So now all you have to do is plug it into C. So you have 2 instances. So where b is equal to 5 and a is equal to 3. So now you have 2 times 5 plus 7 times 3, which is 21. So 10 plus 21 is 31. And it's looking like it's D. I don't really have to check the other one, but I can. So B equals 3 and A equals 5. And this will be, okay, so 6 plus 35, which is 41. Yep. So it has to be D. So let me explain my thought process a little bit more, right? So as you're doing a problem like this, there's a lot of things you're going to have to keep track of. So you saw how I'm writing down 1, 2, 3 of the equations that I found. You have to find out known relationships that stand out in this problem. And I wouldn't say it's exactly necessary to know this. If you knew that a plus b is equal to 8, it's already sufficient enough that a and b have to be probably 5 and 3 because they multiply to 15x squared, if you know how factoring works. And you could have skipped really after this step right here. This right here. But, I just think it's always better to figure it all out. And it's fine to do this much work if you need to. It really is. We all start at different levels, so go ahead and do as much work as you need. And if you see something that is obvious to you, it might not be obvious to someone else. So it's okay to do all the work if you have to. It's not okay to do a very inefficient way if there's a better way and you just have to learn it. But yeah, this is how you would do this problem. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and we're going to move on to the next one. All right. If t is greater than 0 and t squared minus 4 equals 0, what is the value of t? Right? So I'm going to factor this out. So there's a couple ways you can factor this out. So I know this is called a difference in squares. And how do I know that? Well, there's 2 things that I know that make it a difference in squares. Well, there's no b term. We know quadratic's ax squared plus bx plus c. There's no bx right here, so I know it's that. And here is a perfect square. So I know that 4 is a perfect square. And what I need to do is just find something that will get me t plus something and t minus something. But it has to get me 4 in a perfect square. And what do you do with that? You just square root 4. So the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm just going to write plus 2 and minus 2. Just in parentheses right here. All right. And I know that t is greater than 0. So if I figure this out, t is equal to 2 and negative 2. So the answer is going to be 2. Now, you could factor this using the standard method with a times c, find 2 numbers, a times c, but they add up to b, which b is 0 in this case. But sometimes it's not always going to be like that. I think just knowing that this is a difference in squares and this is a perfect square, you can just square root it, which is 2. And you have t plus 2 and times t minus 2. It's a much faster way, and it's valuable learning because you'll see a lot of difference in squares on the SAT. So it'll save you a lot of time knowing how to do it. Okay. On to the next one. So I see this is a big shape. A summer camp counselor wants to find length x in feet across a lake. So length x. So they want to find AE. That's really what they're saying. AE. Length represented by AB, EB, BD, and CD on the sketchboard determined to be 1,800 feet. So let me actually mark these. 1, 1, 2, 2, because they're respectively 3, 3, 4, 4. Right, cool. Ooh. Okay. And segments AC and DE intersect at B. So AE, AC. Okay, I see that. And angle AB and CDB have the same measure as they denoted for me right here. Okay, I see them right here. Same measure. Cool. I'm gonna erase that. Don't want to mess it up too much. I recommend always drawing a diagram when you see something, but since they have it laid out for me, I'm just gonna mark theirs. So I want to find the value of AE, the length of AE. So let's go ahead and mark my stuff. So I know AB is 1,800. 1,800 feet. I mean, the feet doesn't really matter in this case. 1,400 is EB. 1,400 is this quantity right here. And then 700 will be BD. And then this CD is 800. Oops. Okay. Now, a couple things I could look at. Okay. So I know actually 2 things. So I actually see something called a vertical angle, which is an important thing in geometry, where I have this angle here. This is also going to be equal to this angle right here. Now, this is really just a geometry fact you need to know, but here's the easier way to know why. So they're all revolving around this point B, right? And if I take a look at angle ABD, they're supplementary angles ABE and ABD because they both lie on this line right here. So this angle right here is supplementary to this. And if I know that, that means if that angle is supplementary to that one, then angle DBC is also supplementary to that, and it's the same exact measure. And that means this is also a vertical angle of angle ABD right here. That's not something you need to know for this problem, but you just need to know that angle ABE and angle DBC are vertical angles. So if I know that, if they share 2 angles already, then this angle, let's call it angle Y to make it easier. Angle Y, they both share the same angle. And now if I have a triangle that has all the same angles, we call these similar triangles, which means that that's just really fancy for saying, okay, if they're similar triangles, they have the same angles, but they might not be the same exact triangle. They might have a different scaling between their between their sides. So let's go ahead and match up a proportion between them. So let's see. I know if I do 1,400 divided by x, all right, that's the same as saying, let's see. So that's, all right, let's first write this out. EB over AE. Oops. Hope you guys can still see. Okay, sorry. EB over AE, right? Equals, okay, so now I need to find the sides that correspond with it since I know they're similar now. So side EB has the one with one triangle and one curve and two curves. So that would be the 700 here, so BD over. Now AE has the angle Y and the one curve angle. So that'll be the 800, so DC. So EB over AE should equal BD over DC, which is 1400 over X over equals 800 over 7, right? Or no, 700 over 800. All right, now you just cross multiply when you have two fractions equal to each other. So I'm going to continue my work down here. So 1400 times 800 equals 700x. Now I could multiply these together, but I see something good that I can do, and it's no calculator, so I don't want to do that to myself. So I can divide by 700 on both sides. And of course, these cancel out, not exactly, but it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So this will be actually 2 times 1800. So X equals 2 times 1800, which is equal to 1600. That's your final answer. All right. So really, the breakdown of this problem is you need to really use the diagram to the best ability that you can. And you just really find that these two triangles are similar, which makes the problem really easy. Okay. According to the system of equations above, what is the value of X? So again, I'm going to use the elimination method. So this is I'm going to multiply this by -1. So this is minus X plus minus 2Y equals 25. Add them together. Now you have minus Y equals minus Y equals 16. And I have Y is equal to -16. Make sure that checks out. Yep. Okay. Wait. Yep. Okay. So Y equals -16. Plug that in. X minus 16 equals -9. Add 16 on both sides. That means X is equal to 7. Let me make sure that checks out. That worked for the first one I just checked. So minus 32 plus 7. Yep, that checks out. X equals 7. All right. So really, it's just similar to the other problem. You want to try to use the elimination method, guys. If you still don't understand the elimination method, please comment below and I'll answer your comment as soon as possible. All right, in a right triangle, one angle measures x degrees, where sine x equals 4 over 5. What is cosine of 90 minus x? So there's a really fast way to know this, is cosine of 90 minus x. It's just a theorem in trigonometry. I don't know what it's called, but I can show you why this works. But cosine 90 minus x equals sine of x. So this means the answer would be 4 over 5. And you're done. But how do you know this? Well, let's draw it out, right, guys? So only thing you need to know about trigonometry on this test is something called SOHCAHTOA. Right? And if you don't know what that is, I would recommend try searching it up to understand what it is. So I'm given a triangle and we are given some angle x, right? And if I wanted to find sine of x, which is equal to 4 over 5. So sine of x is 4 over 5. So I know that's opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite would be proportion 4. Should be here. The opposite would be here. Hypotenuse would be up here, right? Okay, now we need to know cosine of 90 minus x. Well, I know in a triangle we have 180 degrees in any triangle. And in this triangle specifically, I have, let's say, 90 degrees plus x degrees, and let's say plus y degrees. Let's call this angle y equals 180 degrees. Now I'll solve for y. So I could subtract 90 and subtract x on both sides. Have y degrees equals 90 minus x. So now let's substitute that in. Y is now equal to 90 minus x degrees. Let me write degrees here. And now I can write cosine of 90 minus x. So cosine of 90 minus x is really just the last angle that we need to know. So cosine of 90 minus x is 4. That's the adjacent over hypotenuse over 5. And yeah, so this is how that theory works. And if you ever get stuck on it, just draw a right triangle in case you forget. It's really can easily be traced out. And let me know if you have any questions about this. But it is important to know they might throw a question on that on the SAT. All right. If a equals the 5 times root 2 and 2a equals root 2, the square root of 2x, what is the value of x? Well, I know a is equal to 5 root 2. So I need to know value of x. So I know 2a equals root 2x. So that means I know 2 is this. Okay, and this is equal to square root of 2x. All right, and I know 2 times 5 root of 2 is just 10 root 2. 10 root 2 equals root 2x. Now, the thing about square roots, when you have something multiplying it against it, I can actually just bring it back in here, but I have to remember to square it. It's like simplifying a square root, right? And so when I bring it back in, 10 squared is just going to be 100. So 2, because if I wanted to bring it back out to a 10, this would have to be a perfect square, and I could bring it back out to be a 10 again. I'm just going to bring it back in and bring it to 100 equals square root of 2, which 2x, which is the same as 2 times x. And I'm going to compare these together. I see it's 2 times 100 and 2 times x. These should be equal to each other. So x is equal to 100. And you're done. And that was it for the SAT no calculator section. Let me know if you have any questions, and in the description down below, I'm going to have a link to some tutoring services I offer here. If you're stationed in Maryland, I'd be happy to tutor you in person, but I'd be happy to tutor anyone online if they're interested in that. So there will be an interest form in the description down below if you're interested in more videos, and feel free to comment or shoot me a message if you would like me to go over any more tests with full breakdowns.